after the HDR, after the panorama, we come to the most crazy kind of photography ever, the HDR panorama. So what that is basically, it's a panorama, but for each photo, you take 3 shots. So in this case, one normal, one which is underexposed here, one which is overexposed, then you move your camera a little bit and you start again, normal, underexposed, overexposed, normal, underexposed, overexposed, normal, underexposed, overexposed. So I'm going to press Command A to select everything. Oh, so Control A to select everything. Oops. I'm actually going to select everything except this one because that's the result. I already prepared the result. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to go into Photo Merge. And this is the option we haven't done yet, the HDR Panorama. And just like the panorama, you got the same spherical, cylindrical projection, and you've got the perspective projection. Now, this is you need to really have a fast computer for this to work because we're talking like a super raw file. And you know what's amazing about this is because back in the day, before this was invented, what I was doing is that I would HDR a photo, I would go into an HDR software and then take the next photo, HDR it, and then I would eventually do a panorama with all the HDR. The problem by doing that is once you stitch everything, if you're not happy, for example, with the white balance, it's kind of too late. You have to restart over. With this, we just get like a sort of a super raw file that has basically so much information in the highlights and the shadow. You can do anything you want with it. So this is the perspective view doesn't work. So on this one, I'm going to go spherical and I'm going to click on merge. I've already done it. And so here is the file. And now let's retouch this. So I'm going to go to the settings here and I'm going to, guess what? Open the shadows, bring down the highlights. Now, when it comes to HDR, sometimes I don't bring the highlights too much and I don't do that because it's got so much data that sometimes it can be weird looking. And then I'm going to crush my black by holding the option key. I want to get some good blacks, like remember 2-3% of pure blacks. And then I'm going to go white. Okay, here you go. I'm going to go some kind of white point here. Okay, and I'm going to do some contrast. And then I'm going to change the white balance. So once I nail the exposure, it's always the same thing. I go into the white balance. I think on this one, I'm just want to add maybe a little bit of yellow, a little bit of magenta, some vibrance to make it pop, and then a bit of saturation on top of it. Voila. And I want, before I get into local adjustment, let's crop the photo. On this one, I want to go 16:9. As usual, my favorite cropping. You don't have to do that. That's just what I do. Okay, cool. And now I am ready to get into some more local adjustments. So let's take the gradients first. Let's make maybe a little gradient here on top. And I want on this one to, well, you see here, lower the exposure. That's the only thing we have going on for us. Lowering the exposure, maybe do the same thing here. Voila. Now that sunset there is kind of missing. So let's get it back. I'm going to make a big circle where the sunset is. And then maybe lower the exposure and add some yellow and some magenta a little bit. I mean, it was a sunrise, not a sunset, sorry. Not too much, just a little bit, just to make it populate. By lowering the exposure, we make the color a little more dense. And by adding a bit of yellow and magenta, we just make it more colorful. I can maybe add some saturation, which is already happening here. Okay, I want to go back to 0 volt settings, maybe add even more contrast. Okay, even lower the exposure a little bit more. And then my highlights. Let's see, my highlight. I think I want to put my highlights a little bit brighter. I like the idea of having the sun that was right behind the tree really bright. And then let's take a little brush and then make sure flow intensity is in the 70-80, which is the case. I'm going to double click on exposure, texture, saturation. I'm just going to add just a tiny of exposure. And I want to just make this here a little more shiny because that's where the sun was coming. And that's at 0.88. I want to get it at 0.5, something like this. And I think I want to make the whole photo a little darker and maybe make the highlights like this and add a bit of contrast. No, not darker. It doesn't work. And voila. I mean, shooting right into the sun is really hard, but because it's a Pano HDR, it kind of works. So that's how you go about doing a Pano HDR.